What's up guys, Sean Nalawani, RealScienceAthletics.com, and in this video today I want to talk about the hidden danger, yes, the danger of progressive overload when it comes to building muscle. Before I jump into it, if you enjoy the no-nonsense, science-based content that I put out here and you want to support the channel while maximizing the effectiveness of your fitness program at the same time, then you can check out my sports nutrition company, Real Science Athletics, which, unlike most of the poorly formulated junk out there in the industry nowadays, offers 100% evidence-based supplements you can trust to optimize your muscle building and fat burning results. Just head over to realscienceathletics.com and you can use coupon code YouTube10 to save 10% off your entire first order. So, like I've talked about 1,000+ times before, because it's just so important to understand, make no mistake, progressive overload is the underlying driver of the entire muscle building process. Okay, it's not about getting a pump or feeling the burn or making yourself as tired and sore and sweaty as possible following your workout. Okay, those are automatic byproducts of striving for progressive overload, but they aren't the actual limiting factors in the growth process. The central limiting factor in the growth process is that you consistently improve on your training performance over time, because that's what actually forces your body to adapt and grow to higher and higher levels. And unless you're a more advanced lifter, those performance increases should primarily be in the form of basic linear weight and rep increases. You essentially just need to focus on getting stronger over time on all the key lifts. And when you combine that with a small calorie surplus and sufficient protein, if your numbers in the gym are consistently going up, then you are going to consistently grow along with it. There's just no way around it. You're gonna make all kinds of gains.
Damn, man, look at that. We're making all kinds of gains.
Now, that's all well and good, but the big mistake I see a lot of lifters making is that they hear this idea that size and strength are directly related, which for the most part they are. And just like most people out there who are going after a specific goal that's important to them, they want to get there as quickly as they possibly can. And so they end up rushing the process and trying to increase their strength at too quick a pace. And the natural consequence of that is that they end up slowly sacrificing form just for the sake of lifting a heavier weight. Now, depending on what exercise you're doing, that could mean that the activation of the targeted muscle ends up being sacrificed because you're just heaving the weight around using a ton of momentum, and other muscle groups end up taking over. But even more importantly than that is that the risk for injury goes way up. And this is a topic that I think actually doesn't get enough attention, because in reality, it's actually a baseline factor in the muscle building equation, right? In order to train with weights to build muscle, the first prerequisite is that your joints and connective tissues have to be healthy enough for you to do that in the first place. And if you do get injured, it's gonna slow down your rate of progress in the long term, since you'll have to take time off to heal. And depending on the severity of the injury, it could permanently negatively affect your training efforts moving forward. So the bottom line is this: anytime you add weight to the bar, your form with that heavier weight should look exactly the same as it was with the previous weight, right? Like if you set up a camera and you recorded your sets for 10 successive weight increases, they would all look identical in terms of the form being used. So that means you're not using any additional momentum to make the lift easier. The rep cadence is the same, so you're not speeding up the negative gradually over time. You're using the same full range of motion, so you're not gradually cutting it down by an inch or two, or more out of the bottom of each lift. It also means that the overall technique being used is the same as well, right? So if any of those factors are significantly changing after you've increased the weight, then that's not true strength progression. And it just means that you're trying to move too quickly and that you need to slow down and take things at a more gradual pace. Keep in mind that you don't need to be adding more weight to the bar every single workout or even every single week, right? Even performing just one extra rep with the same weight is meaningful progression when you extrapolate it over time. So the basic general approach I recommend is to just train for additional reps with a given weight, and then once you hit the upper end of your targeted rep range, increase the weight by 5 pounds or even less if possible if it's on a smaller isolation lift, and then just go back to training for reps again and just repeat that process. You really don't need anything fancy here. So it could look something like this. Week 1, you bench press 175 pounds for 5 reps. Next week, 175 pounds for 6. Next week, 175 pounds for 7. Then you increase to 180 and go for 5 reps again, then 6, then 7, then increase to 185 and so on. And this is just referring to the first set of the exercise. You don't necessarily have to perform the same number of reps across every single set. So use your first set as your primary gauge for progression on a given lift, and then on subsequent sets of that lift, it's possible that you might get fewer reps or that you might even have to reduce the weight slightly to stay within your targeted rep range. But treat that first set as the most important one. And then once you've hit the upper end of your targeted rep range on that first set, then the following workout, you'd increase the weight also on that first set. Now, this is all just a rough guideline, obviously. It's hard to assign an exact rate of progression that will apply to everyone because it really depends on the individual in terms of their experience level, their calorie intake. It depends on the specific exercise because bigger compound movements are obviously going to go up a lot faster than smaller isolation lifts will. And you'll also probably have little quantum leaps here and there where you just come back and feel really strong on a given lift on a particular day for some reason, and you're just able to add weight straight away and still match or even exceed the previous week's reps, or the opposite can happen as well. But I think as a ballpark guideline, if you're consistently adding 1 rep per week and then increasing the weight every 2 to 3 weeks or so, maybe slightly longer depending on the exercise, while maintaining perfect form, of course, then I'd say that if you're doing that, you are generally on the right track. Again, it doesn't sound like much between any 2 individual weeks, but you stack that up over 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, and so on, and you'll see that it does add up quite a bit. So if you're serious about your muscle building goals and you want to maximize your chances for success in the long term, then play the long-term game. Slow down, realize that this is something you're going to be doing for the rest of your life. Realize that progressive overload is the central factor when it comes to building muscle, and that increasing your strength on the compound lifts is what's going to add muscle to your frame at the fastest rate. But at the same time, don't be in a rush and don't try to add weight too quickly because it will eventually backfire. The quality of your training will gradually decrease and you'll be hugely increasing your risk for injury as well. True strength progression means that your form remains exactly the same whether you're lifting 100 pounds, 200 pounds, or 500 pounds, and it should look identical regardless of the load. Progressive overload is the primary driver of hypertrophy, but only if it's being applied properly. If you found this advice helpful and you want to learn exactly how to tie this all together in terms of a fully structured workout plan, including the weekly split, exercise layout, volume, rep ranges, and more, so that you can achieve progressive overload and build muscle as efficiently as possible, then make sure to take my physique quiz over at quiz.seannall.com because that will hook you up with the proper step-by-step workout plan, as well as the proper nutrition plan for you based on your individual body type, goals, and experience level. You can click up at the top of the screen for that, or use the link in the description box below. You can also follow me over on Instagram as well for more daily tips and updates. It's at Sean Nalawani. And as always, make sure to hit the like button, leave a comment, and subscribe if you haven't already in order to stay up to date on future videos. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.